So here's what I would tell younger me about the digital nomad life that no one told me about before. I learned all of this myself, and so hopefully you can learn from this too if you're thinking of becoming a digital nomad in the future. So let's go. Number one is the social media versus the reality. So I find that social media usually paints a different picture of reality in this digital nomad life. Like, social media seems to paint a picture of, not doing any work, just chilling by the beach or working on the beach, which I haven't yet seen anyone do. And so I find that most people are attracted to what we think digital nomads are, what we see in terms of this highlight reel on social media, like laptops on the beach, doing not really much work for the same money or more money. But in reality, I haven't actually seen someone actually working on their laptop on a beach. I mean, getting sand in a laptop would not be a good thing in my view. So I find that we often tend to see what's on social media as the highlight reels. But in actual fact, digital nomads still have to do work, like actual full days of work. Like some of my freelancer friends who are in the digital nomad space, they are working so hard because they eat what they kill, in a sense, in the way that they have to go and find new clients. They have to make pitches for the work before they're even paid for that. And so I find that, and I've met so many people here in different countries who are digital nomads, freelancers, contractors, but they are working more hours than they would have if they just were working for one company full time. So I would say be careful of the sensationalization of digital nomad life. Next is the cafe hopping reality. So initially it sounds fun to work in cafes and, have hot chocolates or matchas all day long until reality hits. Not all cafes are work friendly. So not all cafes want people to actually stay there for a full day on their laptop working. And I completely get that. A lot of cafes are not built to be co-working spaces, hence why you have separate co-working spaces. But I find that there is this culture of thinking that, right, okay, when I'm a digital nomad, I'm just going to work in cafes all day. But frankly, finding cafes is also a challenge in itself. Like finding a cafe where there's really good Wi-Fi, where you can actually charge your phone or charge your laptop, and also finding a cafe where it is laptop friendly. There are some cafes that I've come across that specifically say do not work on a laptop, that specifically are no laptop cafes. There are cafes that don't provide Wi-Fi because they don't want people to work there for a full day, which I completely understand. So this is not a negative thought on cafes, but it's more like, be aware of this when you're looking at becoming a digital nomad. Also, if you do find a cafe or co-working space that you like, sometimes they close earlier than the amount of time that you want to actually be working for. So what ends up happening more often than not is you go to one cafe or co-working space, you work there, then so you get your coffee, then you need to find lunch. If you haven't brought a packed lunch, you get your food lunch there. Maybe the cafe closes early, so then you go to another cafe, another place where you buy another drink or tea or coffee that you don't even want, purely because you need to buy a drink or you need to buy something in order to have the space for you to work in. So you end up cafe hopping, and I think that initially this can seem very fun and freeing, and you get to explore different places, but doing this for 1 week versus doing this for 1 month versus doing this for 1 year is very, very different. So what I wish I knew is that either finding a co-working space that's open for a long time during the day works well for me, or find cafes that don't mind people doing their laptop work there. Next is underestimating costs. So I find in the digital nomad lifestyle, it's very easy to underestimate how much it will cost. Like there are hidden costs that I've learned for digital nomads, whether that's the eSIM monthly cost, the insurance cost, travel health insurance, that kind of thing, or visa extensions, visa processing cost, or even if you miss your visa extension date and you have to pay like a visa penalty fee, all these little hidden costs that just add up over time. I think that it's easy to think that we're saving money by living in a lower cost of living country, but like you might not pay a lot for rent, but it can balance out when you account for flights, all these hidden costs, the additional costs that you didn't think about before. Now I have a whole video on all the hidden costs. I'll link that as well, and I would definitely recommend that if you're looking to become a digital nomad, definitely look at these hidden costs and factor that into your budget so that you're not surprised when all these different costs come up. Also, there are a lot of extra things to pay for now, depending on the country. Like if you're renting an apartment or staying in a hotel in certain countries, you might have to pay for a room upgrade if you want to get access to having a window in the room. Or if you want to have access to an elevator, you might need to switch to a more expensive accommodation option. Then there's inner drive. So this nomad lifestyle needs a lot more internal drive, inner motivation from you to like get up and go, like the inner drive to get up and do things on the days when you don't want to do anything. Say when you're working in a company, it's a lot more maybe structured, your days are structured, you have a boss to report to, you have, colleagues to plan things together, you have different team meetings. But when you're in this digital nomad lifestyle, it can feel a little bit, like you are the one that is in control of your time, what you're doing. But that also means like you need to have this internal drive to actually get up and do things. Like if you're feeling lazy someday, typically not many people are going to come and be like, hey, yeah, you need to go do this thing. You need to find that internal drive, that inner motivation to go to the gym, to get the work done. If you're freelancing, you need that drive, that motivation to go find new clients and sales and do prospecting, lead generation. Or if you're in the middle of building a business, like you need that internal motivation to put in the hours that's needed to achieve your goals. Then there's isolation. So people are transient in this digital nomad community space. So you might make friends with some people during your digital nomad journey, but then sometimes they move, and which is very normal. So I've met a lot of really nice people, lovely friends. It's just sad sometimes that it's a little tougher to meet people who are sticking around for a while. Like I've made some lovely friends over the years where they move. When I spent a lot of time in London, many years in London, and I've made a lot of friends who came to London for a few years and left. But it's quite similar in the digital nomad community space, because people are coming in maybe for, it could be a few weeks, it could be a few months, it might even be a few years, but you don't usually know. So I find that it can feel a little bit isolating in the sense that you might make friends with people, but then they just up and go and they move, and that's completely normal, that happens. But if you're someone that needs a lot of people around them, that finds it tough if they don't have friends around them, let's say, all the time, then this is something that you just need to be aware of if you're looking at or interested in the digital nomad space. And on that point around people, there is community. So the digital nomad community, I think it can be quite useful in the sense like finding networks and communities that are important to you, that maybe share similar interests to you. But I would caveat this by saying not all communities are useful. It's very much a case of finding what resonated with me, what people resonated with me, what communities resonated with me. Like there are some communities that might suit a person who is very early in their career, they're not sure what they're doing. For me, I like engaging with people who are already in the middle of scaling businesses, who have some experience in the corporate world or have experience in the working world for quite a while. There's a sense of direction that they're working on. I just find that I personally gel a lot more with those people because that's similar to myself. So I find that not all the communities out there are useful for me. So what I do is I just try to find communities, the networks, the groups, the people that resonate with me. And also I just look for spaces where I feel like I can grow in. Like if I'm just surrounded by people who just don't know what they're doing, that's not a very fun environment for me to also then level myself up. Whereas when I find I'm surrounded by people who are entrepreneurial, they're in the middle of scaling their businesses, they have seen success in their life, they are motivating me to also be in that space. Also, I find that there are broadly a number of different types of people that I've come across in this digital nomad space. So for example, the first kind of broad category of people are those that are just very curious about the digital nomad life. So people who might be early in their career, or they're going through a career transition, or they just don't know what they're doing with their life. So I'm just going to say there's the curious people, not sure what they're doing, they're figuring it out, looking for jobs, no clue what they want to do. Then there are those who are effectively in the middle of building businesses, scaling their businesses. they are doing well, they are either in a well-paying job or in the middle of scaling a business. Then I've come across people who are in a different category, which is the retirement category. So they've kind of done their full life of working and they've chosen to retire and chosen to go and spend time in Southeast Asia or say lower cost of living countries where they want to retire, maybe have more access to sunlight, that kind of thing. And then there are the people that say that they are successful, that they're entrepreneurs, but actually that they're struggling financially and they have no idea what they're doing. Sometimes a little bit of a scam artist kind of thing in there. So there are a lot of different types of people that you meet. So that's why I always say just try and find the people you resonate with, the people that will help elevate you, lift you up, and who create a lovely environment for you to do what you would like to do as well. Then being a digital nomad and living this life can also be tiring. Not really many people talk about this. So like traveling, moving around, uprooting your life, moving to a new place over and over again, that can be tiring. I don't know if you have ever tried to move, but anyone who has moved from say one apartment to another apartment knows how tiring and what a long process that is, and it takes some time to just adjust in each city, in each new place, in each new environment that you're in. And even say if you're moving countries, getting adjusted to say settling in. I usually give myself, if I go to a new country, I give myself at least a week to settle in. I usually can get this settle in period done within about 3 days, just because I'm very used to it and I just have some routines that I do which help me settle into a country much quicker. So I give myself usually like 3 days to a week to settle in somewhere. But if you constantly are doing this over and over again for a long period of time, it can be tiring to just keep up this momentum and drive. What I would tell myself is to be patient with myself when going to any new place, moving to a new country or a new apartment. Give it a bit of time to settle in somewhere new. That's totally fine for it to take a bit of time. And I also just remind myself that everything will work out just as it's meant to in your own journey. Then last is having a good switch off routine. So it can be hard to switch off from work mode in this digital nomad life because the work and personal can tend to blend in. So what I say is just try to get some form of routine or a way to switch off from work. Maybe that's going to the gym after work to create a separation between work and non-work time. That's usually what I do. The gym is my go-to for that. But find a way that you can switch off for yourself. Overall, I think that being a digital nomad is such a good experience. There's a different sense of freedom that comes with maybe not being based in one country. At the same time, there's a whole list, I would say, of pros and cons. I don't think that being a digital nomad is for everyone at all. Overall, there are some fantastic things about this digital nomad lifestyle, new experiences. There's a different sense of freedom and you get to meet so many people. It's a very expansive experience, I find. However, what I have mentioned in this video are just the other sides to it that no one told me about before. And it's not mentioned in the social media posts of, look how great my life is working on a beach, And so I wanted to share this truth, or the truths that I've learned. So if you're thinking of becoming a digital nomad, you can just account for these things, factor these elements in, and then make a decision that's right for you. So that's all I had to say on this topic. If you want me to go into any detail on any other topics in the digital nomad space, let me know. Or I'm going to do a full video on personal finances for digital nomads, because that is something that a lot of digital nomads have been asking me about as well. So if you got value out of this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and share with a friend, and see you in the next one. Bye! Bye 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 bye.